Today we're going to be discussing topic 6. We're going to be looking at SOHCAHTOA and finding sides. We have been studying SOHCAHTOA, which really is made up of ratios and fractions. So we're going to solve some equations that have fractions in them. In order to solve number 1, I'm going to multiply both sides by 14. So x would equal 14 times 0.4384. So if I pull out my calculator, 14 times 0.4384 is 6.1. Now I'm going to look at number 3 next. X is in the bottom, so instead of multiplying by x and then dividing, I can switch these two. So x would then equal 5 divided by, or 5 over, 0.4848. So if I look in my calculator, 5 divided by 0.4848 is 10.3. I'm only rounding to one decimal place because it tells me to round to the 10th. So there's a rule that I can remember. If I have a fraction on one side and just numbers on the other, I'm looking for, even if there's two fractions on both sides, and I only have one x, and I'm trying to solve for it. If x is on the top or in the numerator, I multiply. If x is in the denominator, I divide. If it's in the bottom, the down part of the fraction. So in number 2, x is on top, so I'm going to multiply. In number 4, x is on the bottom, so I'm going to divide. So what does that mean for setting these up? X equals 2, whatever number's with my fraction, times 3.2709. On this one, x is equal to 15.6 divided by 0.8660. If I go to my calculator, I can plug those in. 2 times 3.2709, and I get 6.5. Down here in number 4, x is 15.6 divided by 0.8660. And I always seem to do that. 0. Okay, try it now. It's 18.0. So let's move on to actually using SOHCAHTOA. So our 3 basic ratios are opposite over hypotenuse, adjacent over hypotenuse, and opposite over adjacent. And we remember this with saying SOHCAHTOA. So in topic 5, we are doing the same exact steps. We need to decide which acute angle we are using. We have to pick an angle. Then I'm going to label my opposite, my adjacent, and my hypotenuse. Once I label those, I'm going to cross out the one with no info by it. No number, no nothing. I'm going to look at the 2 sides I have left and decide whether or not I'm going to be using SO, CA, or TOA, and the calculator to find the missing side. And this is where I'm going to say if x is in the top, I'm going to multiply. If x is in the bottom, I'm going to divide. So let's look at some examples. Step 1, I need to pick an angle. So I picked 42. I label my opposite, my hypotenuse, and my adjacent. My hypotenuse has no information by it, so I get rid of everything there, and I'm going to pick tangent. Tangent of what? I picked 42, so that's where the 42 goes, equals x over 9. Now because x is on top, I'm gonna multiply. And when I multiply, I get x equals 9 times tangent of 42, which I'm going to plug into my calculator. 9 times tangent of 42. And I get 8.1. If I move on to the next example, I'm going to pick 51 and I'm going to label my opposite, my adjacent, and my hypotenuse. I'm going to cross out my adjacent this time because it has nothing by it. And I'm going to pick my sine. Sine of what? What angle did I pick? I picked 51 equals opposite over hypotenuse. Now because x is on top, I'm going to multiply. And when I multiply, I get x equals 42 sine of 51. And I'm going to plug that into my calculator. 42 sine of 51. And I get 32.6. Last example. I'm going to start by picking my angle, then I'm going to label my opposite, my hypotenuse, and my adjacent. This time my opposite has nothing by it, so I get rid of my opposites and I'm left with cosine. Cosine of what? What angle did I pick? I picked 78 equals 4 over x. Uh-oh, x is in the bottom this time. That means it's in the denominator. I have to divide. So x is equal to 4 divided by cosine of 78. And when I plug that into my calculator, 4 divided by cosine of 78, I get 19.2.